Hello and welcome to Firearm Freedom. This is going to be another First Impressions video. In today's First Impressions video, we are taking a look at the Midwest Industries Alpha Handguard set. And before we get this video started, I wanted to give a quick shout out to this video's sponsor, which is Seal One. They make a CLP that's bio-based and non-toxic. I have been using Seal One CLP now for literally years, and I have not had any issue with Seal One. I've been using them long before this sponsorship, and I am absolutely honored to have their support here on the channel. I primarily use their CLP paste because it reminds me a little bit like grease, but it smells good and cleans much better than a lot of greases out there. They make circular pre-saturated cleaning patches, and they're also offering a substantial discount to you guys for watching this video. That discount code is FF-25 at checkout, and that saves you 25% off of your order. I'd seriously appreciate you guys clicking that link, showing your support for Firearm Freedom and Seal One by using FF-25 at checkout and saving yourself a boatload off of your Seal One order. This has been a video that I know a lot of people have been waiting for, and I know a lot of people are just fiending to try to get this Midwest Alpha furniture set because they have been seriously out of stock now since launch, and I think it's a little bit of trying to keep them in stock and just waiting on the manufacturer side of things, and then also people are really enjoying these so far from what I've seen. Of course, as always, full disclosure, what is my relationship with Midwest Industries? They did not pay me for this review at all, nor did they request any sort of positive review or want to see this before it aired. They did, however, send me the Alpha 10-inch rail and also the Alpha rail dust cover for the review so that I could give my thoughts on it. I was waiting quite some time to get this rail dust cover in. These primarily was what Midwest was having the most difficult time getting out to the public after launch at SHOT Show, and we finally had the first range day for the First Impressions on this Alpha furniture set, and I gotta say, guys, it's pretty awesome. I'm digging it quite a bit. Now, I'm running this furniture on my Arsenal 107 FR. I'll say first and foremost, this goes far outside of the usual things that I enjoy doing to AKs. Almost always, I saw those Zenit code out, AKs out there, and the SLR AKs out there, and I just was like, it's not really for me. I'm not like a total AK purist, but I knew what worked well for me, and that is an Ultimac rail, an offset light, and a red dot on that Ultimac, and calling it a freaking day, and that was it. Usually I would keep the rifle bone stock other than that, and that's just how I enjoyed running my AKs. It's still how I enjoy running most of my AKs, and that was, to me, the least amount of gimmicky stuff all over my AK. So I was a little bit standoffish on this Midwest Industries stuff, and the first thing that I wanted to ask Midwest about their handguard is, hey, do you have to permanently modify the gun to get the handguard? That was a make it or break it for me. If they said yes, like a lot of their other handguards, I was out. In this case, it is not. This is the first very, very smart move that Midwest did for their Alpha 10-inch handguard. So if you guys were following Midwest at all in the past, their handguard series was great, but you had to cut off the sling loop to get it mounted on your rifle, and that is a permanent modification. That's not an easy part to replace, and especially with the imported AK market these days, that's just not something I'm ever going to do to this very expensive rifle, is permanently modify it just for a handguard. So they decided to go the route of a more purist AK rail and not have you lose any of the original pieces. So you can see here, the original sling loop is just sticking out the side, and usually on AK stuff, when it comes to rails or anything else, you're going to have to do fitting. They do warn you about fitting with primarily the trunnion here and the little back piece that comes off of the rail. In this case, on the 107, the AK gods spoke and let me know this is a made-up that is just meant to be, because this just dropped right on. There was no fitting at all, just dropped right in there, and it was perfectly tensioned. I don't know how that happened. That never has happened to me before, but it just dropped right in. You'll also notice a heat shield underneath the Alpha Handguard. Again, I think this is a smart move. A lot of the time, you'll see free float M-LOK handguards out there, and there are no heat shields underneath, and these things get hot. So not having a heat shield, the aluminum rail heats up real quick. That's going to end badly most of the time. You do have to remove the standard cover that's on your gas tube here, the upper handguard portion. So you remove that, but you can see you still utilize the standard gas tube on your AK. So again, cool, you're not doing any permanent modifications, and this is going to allow you to have a very, very low mounted red dot if you want to. So this is kind of a modular system. You don't have to go with the rail dust cover as you see here. You can just use their rail, and that'll give you the same modularity of having pick rail up top. You can put a red dot, you can put a light, and treat it essentially the same as an Ultimac. And it's going to get about as low as an Ultimac. You're going to be able to co-witness with your irons, no problem. So this, for a lot of people, is going to be pretty much all they go with. And this comes in at about 220 bucks. So it's not terrible for what you're getting. You got the nice little scallops out of the rail, which I guess are kind of there for lightning cuts, but it's really not doing too much. It does give you some nice grip, and I do like the aesthetic of it. Up here, the 10-inch rail is going to come flush on a standard AKM with your gas block, and I think that does look pretty good. They added kind of a cutback here, which is nice aesthetically. I do think that it is slimmer. It seems slimmer than other Midwest rails that I've seen in the past. Some of them look a little bit bulky, but this one actually looks really, really nice. You have a screwed-in section here in 3 different parts for the upper part of the rail. So this is 2 pieces. Once you remove these, the upper part comes out. So it is on there. This thing is not going anywhere. If you had a laser up here for night vision use, you probably would hold 0 on this rail. It's that rigid. I haven't tried it yet, but it's something that I am interested in, and because of the way that this mounts up, I think you actually would probably be good. The rail dust cover is a fan favorite of a lot of folks out there, and this is what's been taking Midwest so long to try to get this out to the public because of how many people are digging it. The first thing that I did notice immediately upon putting on the rail dust cover is I had an RPK sight on this Arsenal. If you're a fan of AKs and you really geek out over good AK stuff, the RPK rear sight is phenomenal. It's got a really nice windage section here that's on a little turret on the side, but it comes out further than standard AKM sights. And because of the way that the pivoting section of the top cover works, it would not fit. Basically, my sight was like at the 700-meter mark because it was just resting on that. Luckily, I had a GG&G peep sight in the rear that they were nice enough to send me for this video, get my thoughts on it. I'm really liking this sight so far, but I ended up actually having to switch it out because of this rail dust cover. This rear sight is a standard AKM profile now, and it's going to, of course, work just fine. And there will be a kind of a full little short review on this rear sight in the near future. The rail dust cover, I think, is phenomenal. I was able to zero it, but I love having a red dot low enough to co-witness with my sights. That's why I usually stay away from dust covers on AK builds, because being able to co-witness it with the irons saves so much time in zeroing a red dot on an AK. I don't know why, it was just taking me a little bit of time at the range, but once I got this zeroed, it stayed zeroed. I didn't lose 0 or anything like that. It was pretty good. Now, as you heard me mention there, it is a hinged dust cover. Once you push the button through in the back, and that is very, very tight. So once you get that out, the dust cover, again, is a hinged dust cover that should maintain 0. There's got a little bit of side-to-side movement, but you are getting a replacement rear section, the rear tail of the recoil rod underneath the spring there. So the rear section is going to be new, and they did enlarge this, and they made it, again, incredibly tight in there to hold the dust cover firm and get it to not move side to side when it's on there. I gotta say, again, when it's on there, this thing's really not moving at all. If you can see in the rear, I'm still running a standard 107 stock. I know this is the complaint of most people out there when it comes to the new Midwest furnitures. They're like, hey, that stock is awesome. Come out with a 4.5 mil trunnion version that we can use it on stuff like the Arsenal. And guys, I hear you. I would love for them to do that. So on something like this Arsenal, I could have the complete Midwest setup. With utilizing the standard Arsenal stock, it's actually super manageable when it comes to the weight. It's not quite as heavy as you might think, and it is still very, very manageable, so that was cool. Now, when it comes to functional use of this stuff at the range, I did notice kind of immediately that the one thing you're going to see is the arms here, where this attaches to the actual Alpha handguard on both sides. So it's pretty crafty. You utilize M-lock here, so there's two M-lock screws, and then there's a little inner like Y-bar section here that goes underneath, and those again screw in, so you got a lot of points of contact. But I think they could slim this down a little bit. Me and the FF Pocket Gunsmith were both kind of looking at it, and you can see here that it is kind of getting slightly in the way of your charging handle. Now, is it the end of the world? No, not at all. You can definitely still get to it, but it is noticeable. So if you're going and doing, reaching under to get to that charging handle, you're going to feel that there. So getting a little extended charging handle, I'm probably going to do that OG, clamp an empty shell on there and hammer it till it stays. Pro gamer move for an AK charging handle to just beef it out a little bit to grab onto. But it's not, again, it's not the end of the world. As a like 2.0 in the future, I think they could slim this section down a little bit so you could still easily get to it. As far as any issues with extraction or anything like that, the ejection pattern was still excellent, and I was not hitting anything at all, so it was not causing any malfunctions. Of course, the gun still ran 100% reliably. Not much major changes internally with this furniture. When you're considering the price points, about $220 for this, $220 for this, so it is a good amount of money for the whole setup. But I do think with the quality that is in the components here, it is very, very reasonable. I didn't see anything that screamed to me that it was overpriced or that you should be paying a lot less. I think it is a very reasonable price point for what you are getting. A few final points here. You, of course, have M-lock all over the rail, and then you also have two QD points as well. So if you want to use the QD sections there in the rail, you can, and it is really nice to use, in my opinion, with the standard sling loop point that you're usually going to see. I love the fact that I can still use that and I don't have to modify the gun at all. You guys heard me mention you're not going to get this red dot low enough on a rail dust cover to co-witness with your sights. So once you put this on there, you're just going to bypass the sights entirely. It's not the end of the world, and I will say that with the added height, it's at a very comfortable and natural height to your regular cheek weld on an AK. I did not feel like I needed a riser on this 107. So that is going to wrap up this first impressions video on the Midwest Alpha furniture set. If you guys have any other questions about this or anything else on the channel, please throw them down below in the comment section. You guys know I absolutely will get back to you. While you're down there, head up to the description, check out those links to support the channel, and as always, stay tuned for more great videos coming soon.